Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So, today we're going to talk about maintenance. We're going to be at least conceptualizing it on the channel. I have been understanding what my next era will be. Just about. It's going to be a recomp era. So, we're going to talk about that a lot. I think maintenance is something that has to be prepared for. That's what I'm going with my messaging. It's something that we consider and something that we plan for. It's something that we build momentum and leverage for. So that's what we're doing on this channel, which that does lead into a recomp era after the vanity weight era, which is what I'm currently in now. So yeah, there's more to come for sure. And still changes to come, basically. So let's go ahead and talk about maintenance in general. There's a lot, in my opinion. There are some stances on maintenance. My hair is bothering me. I need to cut it again. Anyways, there's been certain stances within maintenance that irritate me quite a bit. And there are some on here, and I think that it can be unhelpful. So I want to honestly talk about it and talk about my thoughts on it. And yeah, let's read this. This post is extremely negative, so I'm just warning you guys. It's pretty negative. It's giving somebody that hasn't really lost much, that is trying to find some kind of toxic ritualistic reinforcement to give up before they've even started. That's what it's giving. So, okay, but we still have to look at this because, people think about this stuff. Okay. Those of you who have maintained weight loss for a long time, what is your advice? So the reason that I'm answering this is because I have maintained quite a bit of loss since August of 2022. In August of 2022, I weighed 374. My stomach's going crazy at the thought. I just posted a picture on my on my page where it showed from 2021 to basically this time period in 2025. There was quite a bit of body recomp that was done in 2021 and 2022 and a lot of hormonal work during those years. But this specifically mentions weight loss. So when we're talking weight loss, I have maintained whatever I lost in 2022 for over 3 years. So I think I lost like 40 pounds or something, or like 30 actually. 30 pounds in 2022. I don't know the exact breakdowns, but it's like 30 in 22, 50 in 23, 40 in 24. And then we're getting towards 50 again in 25, which is insane. And that takes a lot of work, being a lot less or weighing a lot less when the year started. I think. So I'll have to get all those numbers when it's all said and done. I can give you that number by January, which, as you guys know, there'll be a lot of stuff on the channel in January. We're going to be busy. I'm planning a daily January moment again. But anyways, let's go ahead and read this. So that's where I'm coming at this from. I have maintained quite a bit of loss for 3 years. And as the time passes, more and more of that loss is maintained for a longer time. Not sure what other Reddit to post this on and not sure how many people will reply, but it's worth a shot. The numbers on people regaining weight after dieting and weight loss are pretty grim. A huge percentage of people gain back everything they've lost, and some gain even more weight. So again, a lot of these percentages, statistics, etc., they do not take into account the toxic ritualistic world, or this person is not looking at it from a super morbid perspective. They're maybe looking at somebody that lost 15 pounds and they put that 15 pounds on back within 5 years. So either one is what you're typically going to see in studies. You're going to see these drastic toxic ritualistic regains, or you're going to see these little tiny losses with these little tiny regains. That's what I typically see. So typically, you have to piece things together more than just looking at studies, because you have to get like the whole picture, basically. And a lot of people don't do that. So it's a problem. You have to try to look at something that's the most similar to where you're starting. There's a lot of individualization that comes into this question and that comes into weight loss in general that studies are not going to give you. Because honestly, when it comes to weight loss and when it comes to maintaining, you are your number one ally. And we need to think about that. I think oftentimes people think of it very negatively. They think of it as you're your greatest enemy, but we're going to shift that a bit and we're going to say you're your greatest ally. You are the one that's going to protect your progress. You are the one who is going to maintain. So it's on you. It's you. Again, it's toxic ritualistic to be like, well, other people regain, so that means I am. Where's that connection? Where is that? We need to question that. You see, it's so easy when we are toxic ritualistic to lose ourselves in this kind of like fat herd. And the fat herd does exist socially, but not physically. If somebody else loses, it doesn't mean you lose. If somebody else gains, it doesn't mean you gain. That's not real. Socially, maybe there's some malleability there. You can be the fattest person in the room, thinnest person in the room, right? But it's not actually changing your weight. And again, lines are blurred all the time within the toxic ritualistic, but we have to keep a realistic perspective. So I would question that right there. Right there. Right there. You're already creating a problem because you are trying to take responsibility away from yourself or put it onto society or like what other people are doing specifically. It's more social than even societal. It's this, remember, this DIS order is also a social issue. It's not just internal. It's interpersonal and intrapersonal through gaslighting, lying, pushing it onto other people, but also gaslighting and lying to ourselves, basically, and creating the delusion within our own brain, especially. So you have to think about it that way too. Like, that's why people always are looking outside of themselves with this problem, because they're like, well, if they do it, then I have to do it. If they regain, then I do too. Cut that off. Pop that red balloon. Pop it now, because that's out. It's already DOA. It's dead on arrival within that one statement. While science has figured out how to get people to lose weight, it's still tricky to get that weight to stay off. It is personal responsibility that's going to keep it off. This is an uncomfortable and disappointing fact, but it's still true. It's also why many competent nutritionists do not focus on weight at all when trying to improve health, and why gym memberships are predatory. So you can see this person is really coming at this from an extremely toxic ritualistic place within literally one paragraph. Everything is based on other people. That's a problem. So remember, when it comes to people that actually do the damn thing, autonomy is huge. Self-motivation is huge. So nobody's going to be here to hold your hand in the middle of the night when you want to overeat, or when you want to, I'm not even going to say hinge, because it's not always a hinge. Not everything is a hinge. Like, people need to keep that in mind. Honey Bison, I so hope I got her username right. She did a great job. She talked about Halloween candy, and she actually gave a caloric amount. I was so happy she did that, because it's like, yes, that was a hinge. It was a lot. It was like 3,000. That's a hinge, okay? If you are in a deficit and you just eat more than you planned on that day, that is not one. That's just, you're slowing down your progress. You're getting a little bit off the goal, or maybe you were hungry if you're physically hungry. it's not a hinge if you're physically hungry. It's just not. You know, a hinge is done out of anxiety or like she was talking about with Halloween candy, like seeking for nostalgia or something. There's some kind of weird, you know, think of it as more mystical. There's like a weird mystical reason why you're doing it. It's not actually hunger. If you are physically hungry, then you have something else going on. So you need to, people need to understand that little difference, because a lot of people don't know if what they're going through is physical or psychological. And physical, remember, it's always slow. It's like slow to build. Hunger is kind of slow to build, or like it can shift. Even like if we're talking like hypothyroidism in the seasons, it changes a little bit every day, right? It's not something where it's just suddenly totally drastically worse out of nowhere. Like that doesn't typically happen unless if you like drank a lot or something, but there would be a physical explanation. Things that are purely anxiety based or purely psychological, they're sudden, they're rapid. There's an event in your life that occurs. There's something that you're upset about. That's a trigger. So that's different. And that's going into a hinge cycle. There's shame. There's something. You're feeling something. Typically anxiety. I would not even say typically. It's pretty much always anxiety. It is an anxiety-based issue. And you're anxious about feeling insecure. You're anxious about your money. You're anxious about this. You're anxious about that. You're stressed. So you're anxious. Like, it always goes back to that. That can come on very suddenly. But physical hunger is slower. And physical hunger also goes away when you eat. So if you're finding that you're just going and going and going and you're feeling sick and that's getting into hinge. Okay. So it's a little bit different. Whereas if you're just hungry and you ate a lot and then you're like, okay, I'm full now. Ugh, that's not necessarily one. So people can get kind of weird with that, which I was thinking I might at some point do a video to describe the difference between overeating and hinge, because they are two different things and people don't see that, or they conflate the two all the time. And that's not true. They're not the same thing. So anyways, let's continue here. That being said, I would personally like to lose weight and keep it off long term. I'm sure that's the goal of just about everyone using this Reddit. So to those who have lost weight and kept it off long term, what did you do to achieve this? For the sake of not having people who have kept weight off for a couple of months posting, I'm talking about people who have kept the weight off for years. The longer the better. 1 year is the minimum. Okay, well, I've kept weight off for over 3 years now. So again, I'm going to talk about it. So what did I do to achieve this? Honestly, for most people, and I will say for most, I will say it. A lot of people don't like it when you say that, because there is this, people have this pressure or they feel this need to rush the process. But for most people, it will be slower. Your average person that is very, very big is going to need years to reduce their weight to a healthy level sustainably. It's going to take a long time. And through those years, your body adjusts throughout the years, your mind adjusts throughout the years, things shift throughout the years. You have to monitor your hunger. This is what I would say. You always cater to your hunger. So if you're very, very hungry, you have to shift your macros, because it's not working for you. Even if it's not working for you at the time, just on the day, even, you have to shift. You have to be willing to shift things around. Be a little bit flexible. Oh, I need more carbs today. Or, oh, I need more fat today. I need more protein today. And then you have to adjust things to get through. That's what I would say is I monitor my hunger and I work to not have it, essentially. So I eat things that are satiating, that give me energy, that do all this stuff so that I can continue on. And that's what you do. So you consider your hunger. A lot of people go into downsizing and they don't consider it. It's like, oh, well, that's just a part of the process. No. No. Because when you're super morbidly obese, your hunger is so loud, it is not possible to just blast through it like that. It just is impossible. So you have to manage it. So it can be slower. And it is what it is. And people don't want to hear that, but I don't care. I'm going to tell you the truth. This person, it's going to have to be slow more than likely. I can just tell. Because they're going to have issues with every single shift, every single change. You know, I think this person is probably toxic ritualistic. It's a lot. There's a lot of triggers on the way down. And you have to visit each one of them and you have to deal with each one of them. I've told you guys on this journey so many times. That's another reason why I never lost it. That's another one. That's another one. I keep finding new ones. The more I go down. Now I've realized that some of it was my avoidance, which I'm getting past. My avoidant attachment style is part of it. That was the most recent one due to pursuing beauty through pursuing vanity weight. I had to face my avoidance and shut it down and be like, no, we're not doing it anymore. We're letting go of that. It's stupid. It doesn't work. It's overrated. It's dumb. So we're throwing it in the trash, basically. And I can do that because I got rid of the toxic ritualistic. So for me, it's like, that was like the hardest thing ever to get rid of for me. So something like this, it's like, throw it in the trash. It's trash. It's stupid. Avoidance is dumb. Period. Just throw it away. It's not useful. It doesn't work. It's dumb as hell. It just hurts a lot of people. It's stupid. It's trash. So that's how I handled it. And then I just kept going because I let it go. And if I still feel avoidant anxiety sometimes, I'm just like, trash, and then I just move on. I'm just like, no, I'm not going to listen. It's stupid. And and then I can continue. And when I worked through that psychological thing in the vanity weight era, it was easier. It started to get easier. So I will say that to you guys too. Like if you're more in a vanity level, your issue is probably more psychological than physical. It's somebody said it very well. They said like when you're morbid, it's physical torture. When you're vanity, it's psychological torture. It's pretty true. I really like that comment, by the way, whoever commented that, because it's very real. And I've experienced like all of the different. I will say SMO is also kind of psychologically torturing too, because that was crazy. Because you have so many brain shifts while you're trying to lose at that size. It's insane. But certainly like morbid obesity, yeah. It was just more like the physical side was bad. And there was still psychological stuff too, but it's tough physically. Honestly, like I think about it sometimes and I'm like, gosh, like it is so much easier on that level. It's still hard now. It's harder than when I was mid and even class 1. But when I think about it, when I was at the biggest, it's easier still to be in a vanity weight era. So if you can get through that, you can do it. Because it's hard. And I think that would help people too to know, like, it starts the hardest it's going to be. People often say it just gets harder and harder. And it's like, no. These are people that started at class 1 obese or mid-size that say that it gets harder the further you go. It doesn't. Again, some of us, we've been very big. We're on the other end of the spectrum, or we've been very huge. It doesn't get harder the whole way. That's not true. It's like this. It starts out the hardest, and then as you go, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then you get to like class 1, and then it's pretty easy. And then mid, and it's pretty easy. And then it starts to go up again in vanity, but it's still here versus here. It's not as hard, but it is harder, which for me, it was like a reality check to be like, oh my God, this is harder. And it sucked. And I was really mad about it because I was used to that constant, it getting easier, and then it wasn't anymore. Like it started to get physically more difficult. So just be aware of that. People are not talking out of their ass when they say like the last 20 pounds is really hard. The last 10 pounds is really hard. That's true. It is harder. So, but it's harder than being overweight or class 1 obese. It's not harder than being super morbidly obese. It's just not. So I just think people need to understand that too. Okay. So again, you have to to answer the question further, you have to balance the physical, the psychological. It is a process, but it becomes boring. You want to make it as boring as you can because we're often trying to create an emotional experience out of our downsizing within the toxic ritualistic, and it makes it more volatile. It's emotional enough. We don't have to force it to try to get excitement out of it. You don't have to do that. It's already enough on its own. So I would tell this person to think about that too. When am I putting emotion into it that doesn't belong there? When am I making it more dramatic than it really is? Because it's dramatic enough. We don't have to put emotion into this experience. It's already enough on its own. And that's something I think people need to hear, that especially have these toxic ritualistic issues, is like, think about how much am I over dramatizing it, or how much am I making it worse than it is? Because again, I've been very honest on this channel the whole way. I've talked about when it's hard. I've talked about when it's easier. I've talked about how it's harder. You've heard topics shift. Those of you who have been around the whole time, you've heard me talk so much in the beginning. It was all about the physical issues I was having. It was extremely physical. I was like, oh my God, this is so horrible to deal with on a physical level. And then, like last year, it became social. And this year, it was really social. It was, I don't like it. I don't like how I feel. It became very social. But you notice, like, that physical commentary, it just died. It died around a year ago because it was easier. And it was just like dopamine issues and stuff, which it's not as bad. It just isn't. And then now it's like, I have it sometimes, but like the dopamine thing, but it's not that bad. So you don't hear me talk about it all that much. I'll bring it up occasionally, but it's just, the actual process is frustrating. But other than that, I'm okay. I've done a lot of psychological work in this era because I had to. That avoidance piece was huge. It was something I really worked on in September, and I think I'm really getting better now because I just force it. It's like, no, because I'm not stopping for some bullshit thing. I'm just not. And so I think different phases are different. And I think that that's what's hard for people to understand too. When you start from such a huge size, you kind of live like 4 different lives or something throughout the process. It's a lot, and that's why I've really pushed the idea of the eras and stuff. There is some overlap in reality for sure, but it's a way that I can talk about it on social media. And I think it's worked well because these things come up. And I'm glad I've experienced the spectrum for that reason. Because when you experience these things and you deal with them as they come, then it makes maintenance easier. And then you keep it off because you're like, oh, I already know how to handle that. So it's like, now I told you guys, my eras don't go away. They just build on each other. So it's like, if I'm having a moment like today, I felt like a mid-sized princess again. I was trying to get dressed. The season changed. I was trying to get dressed. Nothing fit right. And it was pissing me off. And I felt like I was in theater class again. I was like, oh my God, I can't find anything that fits. Nothing fits right. And I was like so annoyed. I was so annoyed by it. And it's like, but I've dealt with this before. I can handle this. And I just was like, I'm going to put on my jeans and I'm going to put this sweater on and da-da-da. I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. My body's still changing. It's okay. You see? Because I have experience with that. So you allow yourself to experience things as you go through it. Because then when it comes up again, it's easier. It was easier. It wasn't like a full-blown crash out like in June where I literally could not get dressed one day. It was so ridiculous. It was so stupid. But I literally was like, I felt like a teenage girl. Like I could not get dressed in the morning. I was like, I don't like any of these outfits. I don't like how they look. I don't like it. And I freaked. But it's like that one experience, I dealt with it, and then it's easier. So when it happened again now, as my body's changing quite a bit, as I'm de-swelling and stuff now, I dealt with it. When I feel the Pennywise come up because I feel a little bit dysmorphia, like I feel a little bit of body dysmorphia because I'm shifting, I ignore it. I pop the balloon. It's like, been there, done that. Pop. Bye, Pennywise. Don't give a fuck. It's like you have to get to that point. And sometimes it does require a length of time, or it requires taking on one thing at a time. A lot of us need to do that. Especially if you have toxic ritualistic issues. You just take it piece by piece and you can get through. And then you just remember, and then it's like, okay, whatever. Then you get past it. So like I said, my eras don't go away. They build. When at a moment's notice, those chapel boundaries can come out real quick. I don't know where my wand is, but it's somewhere. I don't see it anywhere. But I'm just saying, at a moment's notice, I can go into chapel mode. Because I learned how to do that. It's still there. So it's like you just learn along the way, and you change and you grow. And you discover things about yourself. And it's really rewarding. It is. We need to talk about how it's positive too. It is difficult, but it's rewarding. That helps too, Okay. I'm especially interested to hear from people who went through significant weight loss, since the more weight you lose, the harder it is to keep off. Again, that's because of psychological factors. Physically, keep your thyroid going strong. Your thyroid is your metabolism, essentially. So if it is anti-thyroid to lose weight, it is. So that means you typically have to heal. And it usually has to do with a lot of nutrition. So you have to really up your nutrition and maintenance for a long time. People hear that and they think, I'm going to have some vegetables once a week. No, I'm talking going deep, eating oysters, having some organ meats, having some real hard nutrition for 6 months post-loss. Okay, like think of it that way. Like it's a process, babe, to get your nutrient stores back up. I'm taking iron. I'm taking this iron for at least 6 months. People are too cute about nutrient deficiencies. It's like, honey, it's going to take a hot ass minute to get your nutrition back up. And if you don't, and you just eat a bunch of chimichangas or something, it's not going to go well for you. Newsflash, chimichangas do not have a ton of nutrition in them. Some packaged food at the grocery store, it doesn't have a lot of nutrition in it. So if you're trying to go into maintenance and be like, I'm going to maintain just eating a bunch of this, honey, it's not cutting it. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm thinking this winter I'm be having a lot of beef stews, a lot of hearty stews. I'm going to experiment with bone marrow and stuff. Like I'm going to get real deep with it. It's going to really upset the vegans. And I'm just kidding. But no, I'm trying to go for some hardcore nutrition. We're going to be fruit smoothieing it and stuff like that too. We're going to try to get everything up. I'm still going to be eating eggs like my life depends on it. I'm going to be doing this stuff when I go into maintenance. It's like we're going to get the stores up. And it's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. Especially fat-soluble vitamins. Those stores, man, they do go down. It's the same thing, like, if you guys are like pregnant or you give birth or something, like if you're postpartum, you have to kind of do the same thing. Like we need to normalize like replenishing. People don't think about that at all. It's like if you give birth, you have low iron, babe. You need to get that back up. Like it's a serious undertaking. This stuff is a serious undertaking on the body and we need to replenish. So you need to think about it. when you're going into maintenance, it's a big deal. And it's a big physical transition, and your body needs nutrition. Your body needs vitamins and minerals. And we need to normalize, like I said, you build that up over months. It's not something you're just, no, like you go for it. That needs to be normalized. And I'm going to show you when I do it, because I know that, to build nutrient stores, like I said, the iron is a great example. 6 months of a daily pill. We don't play. Okay? All right, let's continue with that. Thank you in advance for your responses. And if you know someone that might be able to contribute, please share this with them. I'm hoping that people can use this as a resource for keeping weight loss off long term. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead. I actually will just leave it there because I went on for longer than I thought I was going to. I had a lot to say, but that's my answer to this question. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.